In the unforgiving heart of the Wild West, a cowboy's act of mercy would one day be repaid by the last creature anyone expected. The vast frontier lands of Wyoming, where rugged red rock ranges cradle endless seas of grass, have long been home to tales that blur the line between legend and truth. Among these stories, one stands out: a curious account of an unlikely bond forged between an old cowboy and a wild Mustang. It was a scorching July afternoon when the wind shifted, carrying the parched heat from the desert. On the horizon, a menacing wall of red dust began to roll in, promising a storm that could swallow the land whole. Jeb Carter, a weathered cattleman who called the outskirts of Tiny Dry Creek his home, was making his way back after checking on his herd. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that makes even the most seasoned frontier folk uneasy. As Jeb urged his mount along a path he'd ridden 1,000 times before, something caught his eye near a dried-up creek bed. There, tangled in the rusty remnants of long-abandoned ranch fencing, stood a Mustang. Its coat was caked with dust, its black mane a matted mess of sand and burrs. But it was the horse's eyes that gave Jeb pause, filled with a wild wariness. Yes, but also unmistakable pain. Jeb knew better than most the deadly dance of a western dust storm. In mere minutes, the sky would transform into a swirling crimson ocean, capable of suffocating any creature unlucky enough to be caught in its fury. With practiced ease, he dismounted and secured his own horse to a nearby post. Then, moving with the deliberate calm of a man who'd spent a lifetime around skittish animals, he approached the trapped Mustang. "Easy there, friend," Jeb murmured, his voice as rough as the land around them. "I'm not here to hurt you." He pulled out his hunting knife, its blade glinting in the fading sunlight. The Mustang's muscles tensed, but something in Jeb's demeanor seemed to reach it. As he began to slice through the tangled wire, each cut bringing the creature closer to freedom, the horse remained still, as if it understood the intent behind the man's actions. The last strand of wire fell away just as the storm began to devour the distant mountains. Jeb stepped back, expecting the Mustang to bolt immediately. To his surprise, the wild horse didn't run. Instead, it took a step closer, lowering its proud head for just a moment, a gesture that seemed almost like gratitude. Then, with a powerful leap, it was gone, vanishing into the swirling red storm like a spirit of the plains. Jeb didn't think much of the encounter after that day. In a land where survival often hinged on small acts of kindness, he saw it as nothing more than a moment of mercy. One of countless others that peppered the harsh tapestry of frontier life. Months passed, and the unforgiving western winter set in with a vengeance. Jeb found himself making a supply run to a ranch far to the north, a journey he'd made many times before. But this time, nature had other plans. A sudden snowstorm descended upon him, turning the familiar landscape into a treacherous white void. Disaster struck when Jeb's horse, usually so sure-footed, slipped on a patch of hidden ice. The sickening crack of breaking bone echoed across the empty plains, and Jeb knew in an instant that his loyal mount would go no further. With a heavy heart, he gathered what supplies he could carry and set out on foot, the biting wind cutting through his layers like a knife. Hours passed, each step becoming more labored than the last. The cold seeped into Jeb's bones, and exhaustion clouded his mind. As the white world around him began to blur, he stumbled and fell, the snow eagerly embracing him in its deadly softness. His last conscious thought was a wry acknowledgement that after all these years, the West had finally bested him. But fate, it seemed, had other ideas. When Jeb's eyes fluttered open, much to his own surprise, the first thing he registered was the sound of hoofbeats. Familiar hoofbeats. Through the swirling snow, a dark shape emerged, and Jeb found himself staring into the eyes of the very same Mustang he'd freed months ago. Its black mane was now frosted with ice, its breath steaming in the frigid air, like some mythical creature from an old fireside tale. Before Jeb could fully process what he was seeing, the Mustang turned and took a few steps away. Then it paused, looking back over its shoulder with an intelligence that seemed almost human. The message was clear. "Follow me." Meet summoning strength he didn't know he had left, Jeb stumbled to his feet and began to trail after the horse. Over frozen hills and through snow-laden valleys they went, the Mustang always staying just ahead, as if making sure its human charge kept pace. Just when Jeb thought he couldn't take another step, a thin tendril of smoke appeared on the horizon. Hope surged through him as the outline of a hunter's cabin came into view, nestled at the edge of a dense forest. The men inside the cabin later told Jeb that another hour in that storm would have spelled his doom. They marveled at his luck, at the miracle of his survival. But when Jeb tried to explain about the Mustang that had led him to safety, he found only confused looks and skeptical smiles. For when they'd opened the cabin door to bring him in, there had been no sign of any horse, just endless white in every direction. In the days and weeks that followed, Jeb often found himself scanning the horizon, searching for a glimpse of that black mane or the flash of knowing eyes. But the Mustang never appeared again, as if it had been nothing more than a fever dream born of desperation and cold. Yet Jeb knew the truth. Somewhere out there, in the vast and unforgiving expanses of the West, roamed a creature that remembered kindness, a wild spirit that had repaid a simple act of mercy in the most extraordinary way. From that day forward, whenever the dust storms rolled in from the desert, painting the sky that ominous shade of red, the folks of Dry Creek would see old Jeb Carter standing on his porch. He'd face the wind, eyes squinting against the grit, staring out over the grasslands as if waiting for an old friend to emerge from the swirling chaos. And sometimes, when the light hit just right, and the wind whispered just so, those watching could have sworn they saw the silhouette of a proud Mustang standing beside the old cowboy, two unlikely companions, bound by a debt that transcended the harsh realities of their wild world. In a land where legends were born from the very soil and survival often hinged on the thinnest of margins, the tale of Jeb and the Mustang became more than just another fireside story. It served as a reminder that even in the most unforgiving of places, acts of kindness could echo across time and space, returning when least expected but most needed. And so, as the years passed and the West slowly changed, the story lived on. It was whispered around campfires, passed down from grizzled old-timers to wide-eyed youngsters, a testament to the enduring spirit of both man and beast in a land that demanded nothing less than everything from those who dared to call it home.